Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to more Drak vlogs of E3 2018. And today we're taking on the second and last conference of Sunday, which was Bethesda. Bethesda's had kind of a running reputation now for the last few years of being on Sunday nights and not being the longest conferences in the world, but just basically showcasing the games that they have to announce. In fact, I'll actually say that I think they were kind of one of the weaker ones last year because they didn't have a whole lot to announce. At that point, a lot of their games were coming out later that year. So they just basically did trailers for them. They even surprised a few people with surprise announcements of like The Evil Within 2 and stuff like that. But this time around, though, they had a lot to talk about. So we're going to go into the goods, the bads, and I'm going to give a final grade as to whether or not Bethesda did well or kind of sucked this year. So the goods, okay? The first reveal that they did was actually better than I thought it was going to be, and it was the reveal of Rage 2. Rage, I haven't even played the original one on, what was it, 360 PC and PS3 era. I haven't played that one, and that was like the first project it worked on after being acquired by Bethesda, so this was the sequel for that and was actually surprisingly entertaining. I was kind of surprised by it, especially when they started things off with a rock show by Andrew WK of, I don't know the name of the song, but it's one of the more popular ones that Andrew WK does. And going into Rage 2, the trailer and the gameplay demo that they actually had for it, where they took on a mission, looked surprisingly open world, surprisingly silly in what you were actually able to pull off in the game. You can get superpowers as well as really great guns, so it definitely got me interested in playing Rage 2. I'm not saying that it's bought the game for me yet, but I'm definitely going to be watching some of the other trailers that came out for it, and it's coming out spring 2019. The next one that actually got me kind of interested, or not kind of, but did get me interested, was, well, not what I expected. People might remember when I reviewed the previous incarnation of Doom, I actually did an additional video saying that Doom left me very depressed, very down while playing it. Even though I gave it a good review, I just didn't have an overall fun experience and was strongly considering not getting Doom 2, which I knew was coming. And then I saw the trailer at the Bethesda Conference for Doom Eternal, which is basically Doom 2. And it actually made me want to pick it up. So for all those who are going to say, he's such a flip-flopper, you're right. I mean, I am. But the trailer got me so interested in one particular thing that did was, not only was it the Forces of Hell, but it also looked like they were going to go into like Cthulhu territory with the monsters we were going to be facing. They did say they had like doubled the monsters from the original Doom. So I'll probably be picking that one up, or at least I'm going to be watching the trailers just to see how well it looks from here on. After that, it actually took a while for me to get interested in really anything. I was kind of interested in Quake Champions when they talked about it, but a lot of the reasons that kind of turned me off was it just sounded to me like they wanted to be Overwatch League. They felt like they should be Overwatch League because Quake has been around for so much longer. And the other problem that actually happened with this, especially with the id announcements, was you kind of got cock-blocked, for lack of a better term, because you got a trailer, but you didn't get a whole lot of other information because they were saving all of that stuff for QuakeCon 2018. So that was kind of a bad move in my opinion, but these were the things that actually kind of got my interest. The next one took a while. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. When I put up a Twitter post that irritated a few people of just basically, I found a Monsters Inc. gif of what's her name, Boo, falling asleep, because I'm not even kidding. I almost fell asleep like 2 or 3 times during this conference. It was very boring, and part of that is because I don't really have a horse in Bethesda's arsenal. I have a few games that have intrigued me over time, like Doom was pretty good. Prey I thought was going to get me, but it really didn't. I don't have a horse in the race, so to speak. I'm not interested in Elder Scrolls. I don't care about Fallout. And so that's why it was kind of boring for me. That might have changed after this conference, but we'll see. Because the next thing that got me remotely interested was a new IP that they're working on called Starfield. And it's, granted, we're talking about the people who've made Fallout, Elder Scrolls, so you know you're going to get a big world with that. But this is going to be dabbling a little bit into sci-fi. Would Drak, Fallout... No, Fallout deals more in post-apocalyptic than it does sci-fi. So at this point, Starfield is probably going to be more up my alley. In fact, one of the reasons I like Prey so much was its sci-fi feel. And it just kind of disappointed. So I look forward to seeing what we have to say later about Starfield in the future. It got me. So that's the positives, unfortunately, for Bethesda. The negatives here, and they're not bad negatives. I think these were moves that Bethesda needed to make, but, well, from a non-Bethesda fan, they bored the crap out of me, and I have no problem admitting that. Elder Scrolls Legends, I mean, it's great and all that it's doing well, and you think it's better than that your developers think it's better than Hearthstone, but it's just, to me, it was like, oh, look, it's Elder Scrolls trying to be Hearthstone. And that was my thought on the matter. Elder Scrolls Online. I'm just not interested. I tried your game back in beta. I've never been encouraged to go and try it again, given the experience that I had. So I'm glad and all that it's doing well, but it's just not getting me into it. Prey has free updates that are coming soon, including a DLC called Moon Crash, which is just basically giving you a whole new area to explore on the surface of the moon. And while their advertisement, or at least their discussion of it, was very entertaining, I don't want to knock the two developers. What they decided to do with it was really funny. I was especially laughing at the concept when they had an actual mimic enter their studio and they both freaked out. They're like, run, run, run! And then all of a sudden they're on the studio going, yeah, we're totally not mimics. And the way they showed that was putting up a little notepad going, not a mimic. I was laughing. I thought it was a really great presentation, but it didn't encourage me to go and try out Prey again. That's the downside of that. Wolfenstein is going to be available on Switch June 29th. Very cool. And they also did announce that DLC featuring BJ Blazkowicz's younger twin daughters called Youngblood is going to be coming out 2019, and it's going to be a co-op experience that can be played solo. This is interesting to me in kind of a weird way because I haven't necessarily started them yet, but I did go and get the previous game before New Colossus just to get myself into this story. Because, yeah, I'm kind of interested in Wolfenstein again. So, I'm not saying I'm interested right now. I at least want to play through that game first. I think it's called The New Order, and see if it continues to keep me. But if it does, then I would be more than happy enough to take on the Youngblood DLC. I thought they had a good idea going there. So this was a good decision as far as I'm concerned on their part. It just didn't bring me in that much. We had VR talk, and one of the things I'm going to praise not EA, but E3 overall, very little VR talk in the conferences. That was very helpful because all you basically were doing for a person who just isn't interested in getting VR ever, it basically to me looks like, oh, you're announcing a really, really great game that I will never ever play because I have no inclination to play on a visor. I don't think I'd have a good experience with that. I think I'd get nauseous. I don't think it'd be a good time for me. So I was very happy that E3 kind of kept that to a minimum, even though we did get VR showcases on the show floor. So you got what you wanted, but not in the conferences. And yeah, we got Prey and Wolfenstein VR games that were announced. So those are good for the VR people. This one I promised I was going to talk about in Xbox, and it was one of my negatives, and just because it bored me to tears. Fallout 76. So we got to have a lengthy discussion, or rather, Todd Howard got to have a lengthy discussion with himself, talking about how great his games are, the games that he particularly works on. I made the joke about, he's basically acting like that one South Park episode of the people in San Francisco who sniff their own farts, because he just kind of came off that way to me. I've never been the biggest, I appreciate Todd Howard. He's been able to do amazing things, but, it's probably how a Bethesda fan looks at Chris Metzen at Blizzard, because that's kind of how I viewed it, is he came off as a little pretentious. Same thing happened also in the EA one with, Andrew, what's his bucket, the CEO over EA. Anyway, that's not what you guys are here for. Fallout 76 is going to be a prequel to all other Fallout games, and it's going to be a map 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, and Fallout 4 was the biggest map they'd ever come up with. It is based in the West Virginia area, so I think you're going to be dealing a little bit with Washington as well, because it's a big-ass map. What was the other stuff that they did? Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, so it's a prequel to all others, so you actually get to see kind of the establishment of the orders that are in later Fallout games and kind of just give you an open world to explore, which was appropriate because they also announced that Fallout 76 is going to have a constant online connection, and it's, without using the term, they really kind of hit the nail hard that this is kind of an MMO. Kind of. It's an MMO in the case of like how Bethesda makes MMOs, which are strongly single player focused, but at the same time require an internet connection so that you maybe can interact with multiple people. Okay? That's what I mean by MMO. That's how I coin it with Bethesda, is that this is what they're trying to create with it. They want Fallout Online. And so that's what 76 comes off to me as, because that's what they're trying to create. But yeah, I mean, it's not like it was overall a bad announcement. I thought Fallout 76 in a lot of its ideas were really good for people, and I thought it was a step in the right direction, just not for me, because there's no way that I'm going to play a Fallout game. It's way too post-apocalyptic, and post-apocalyptic games are supposed to have bleak outcomes. I'm not really into playing games with bleak outcomes. Let's see. Yeah, and they also showed the same trailer that Xbox got, so that was kind of lazy on their part. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Also, with the Collector's Edition, you'll be able to get a full armor power helmet for that, and I think it's wearable, so you guys can get that. But it is going to be launching November 14th, 2018, so Bethesda fans will be able to start getting their hands on that very, very soon. And I'm happy for you guys. I'm just not interested in it overall, and it was very boring to go through this discussion. Although I did find it funny that Todd Howard tried to have some snark at his own expense by commenting about the complaints of his buggy Bethesda game launches. He didn't take that very well, and I'm actually kind of glad that some games journalists have kind of lambasted him for it, because that's the one complaint that Bethesda has above all else. You know, like, criticize EA all you want. They might have a buggy launch, but it's not going to be as buggy as, say, Skyrim or Fallout 4 or anything like that. It's not. So this is definitely something that I also think needs to be addressed with Bethesda games, and it needs to be addressed by their fans by basically saying, no, we're not buying this game at launch. We'll buy it 6 months later, and until you start fixing buggy launches. All you got to do is hire some quality control people. That's really all it takes on the matter. Or either that or stop making amazingly big games, because then at that point you can keep track of all of them. Another bad one for me was Fallout Shelter. I wasn't invested in the original game, but it's coming to PS4 and Switch, so congrats to you guys. Elder Scrolls Blades was another major one that they announced, which is basically Elder Scrolls the mobile game, or the way that they explained it was it's Fallout Shelter, but with Elder Scrolls. Not quite, but okay, let's go down that rabbit hole, shall we? It's basically like a dungeon crawler on your phone. And I think it's even going to make its way to consoles. I can't remember exactly on that one. But it's basically a dungeon crawler that you can play on the go. And look, what I saw of it, it actually looked fairly good. Like, for a mobile game, it looked fairly good. Again, it's Elder Scrolls. I'm not necessarily all that invested. And I even say it in my notes. It's just like, it looks good, but it looks lame to me. Because it doesn't look like I'd have a fun experience with it. But that's going to be launching fall 2018, at least in beta form. I think they did emphasize that it would be at least in beta form. So you guys can try that out. And finally, the last thing they announced was also a negative for me, and that's Elder Scrolls 6. I'm glad for Elder Scrolls fans that you're going to get one, but it's again another situation. I'm like, oh, yawn. I don't care. I'm not interested in getting into a game that is this huge again. And that was the goods, the bads. There really wasn't too many iffies on that one, because again, a lot of the bad decisions on my part were overall good decisions from Bethesda. So my final score on this one, I'm at least going to give them a B. I think they did what they needed to do in that conference, but it was still boring as crap for me. So that's just the way it goes. Because again, you're talking to a person who is not a Bethesda fan watching the conference, and there just wasn't a whole lot for them to announce for me. The announcements were interesting, but everything else just couldn't really keep my interest. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this vlog. So when we come back, we will be discussing the first of many conferences on Monday, and we're going to be starting things off with the unexpected Square Enix showcase of 2018. Thank you guys so much for watching and for your continued love and support, and I will see you guys next time.